everyone, and welcome to the accepted test. This is a new book tag that I am creating for the Wheel of Time community. I looked around and unless I'm technologically illiterate, which is also a possibility, I did not find a specific book tag for the Wheel of Time fandom, so I decided to create one. This accepted test is not quite as stressful as the real accepted test. It's just 10 questions about and related to Wheel of Time. And yeah, I just love the Wheel of Time community. I think it's one of the most accepting and non-toxic fandoms I've ever been in, at least in the spaces that I've seen. I hope that you enjoy this tag, and I wanted to give a special shout out to the Way of the Leaf podcast guys. They are the ones who introduced me to a lot of the Wheel of Time discords where I was able to find and connect with so many other Wheel of Time fans, which is kind of what I wanted to do with this channel when I first started it anyways. And so thank you so much, and stay tuned till the end of the video. I'm gonna be tagging a ton of other Wheel of Time content creators, and if you like my videos even a little bit, I think you will absolutely love their videos. And so with all that being said, let's get into the accepted test. So personally, I used to go on these forums called the Inheritance forums, and they were dedicated to discussing the inheritance cycle by Christopher Paolini. And a lot of people on there also recommended other fantasy books, and they recommended the Wheel of Time, and that's basically how I picked it up first. And I remember I went to Barnes & Noble. It was the summer before I started 7th grade. And yeah, I went to Barnes & Noble, I read the prologue to The Eye of the World, and I was hooked. The prologue to The Eye of the World is absolutely one of my favorite pieces of writing just in general. I think it is an incredible introduction to the fantasy series and the sort of emotional whiplash you get from going to such an epic scene of a man going crazy and creating this whole mountain to this very simple imagery of two men walking through the woods was just so incredible. I think that's my favorite thing about fantasy, is the duality between the epic and the intimate, and I think Wheel of Time does such a great job balancing those two aspects of fantasy. So there's 7 Ajas, and of all of them, I would like to think that I'm a blue, but personally, knowing myself, I think I'm actually more of a brown. I think my favorite piece of world building in the Wheel of Time was learning about the Aiel and their backstory. We spent all this time getting to know them, and Robert Jordan builds them up as these very fierce warriors who have this very strict code of honor, and then learning where they originated from was so insane to me. And again, it was like that whiplash of Robert Jordan setting up your expectations and then like completely flipping them on their head. And yeah, I think that was just such a cool chapter to read. I think that Jordan did such a great job building up their culture, and the interactions between Rand and the Maidens of the Spear from the Aiel were kind of my favorite parts of the books. Yeah, I have a lot of love in my heart for the Aiel. So to be honest, I feel like there's no reason that the Black Tower should have different Ajas than the White Tower, but as it stands, I feel like after the events of A Memory of Light, the Black Tower is much more of a militaristic organization, so I feel like they might sort of mirror the real world military, where, you know, you have the Air Force, Marines, different branches of the military, and I feel like they might develop like that. But on the other hand, I do think that maybe they'll just sort of meld together with the White Tower and end up adopting their Ajas. But yeah, I'm super curious when other people do this tag to see what they come up for this answer, because I think there's so many different ways you could go with this question. Egwene is one of my favorite characters from the whole series. I love how ambitious and confident she is, but at the same time, I feel like if I were to meet her in real life, I feel like I wouldn't really like her. Because just personally, I'm not a very confrontational person, and I think Egwene is very confrontational. She's not afraid at all to say what she's thinking, and even though I admire that about her, if we were to like work together or something, I think I would have a hard time adjusting to her personality. But yeah, I still love her as a character. And again, another question I'm really excited to see how people answer. For this one, I'd pick Alton from The Poppy War. The Poppy War is about these characters who are attending a military boarding school, and Alton is a student at this boarding school, and he is the best among the best, and he can fight really well. He's super smart. He's got a lot of military genius, and I think all of those qualities would make him a great warder. And yeah, I just really think he has the chops necessary for a warder. Earlier this year, I watched Brandon Sanderson's lectures on world building and science fiction fantasy, which if you haven't watched, I highly recommend them if you're even just like a casual fantasy fan who doesn't really want to write fantasy. I think they're really insightful to the genre. And so in one of the lectures, he talks about this idea of authors making promises to readers in the books that they're writing and making promises early on so that the readers know what they're getting into. And he specifically mentions Eye of the World as a great example of this, because that initial prologue is basically a promise of what's to come. Robert Jordan is telling us that he's trying to tell this very epic story with incredibly high stakes, but right now we're just at the beginning. So it was his way of kind of giving us a small taste of what's to come and then kind of taking us to the beginning and being like, okay, that's what's going to happen, but right now we have to start at the beginning. Cut to Rand and Tam walking through the Winterwood, and I really hope they keep that in the show. I think it's important, and I'll be disappointed if they don't, but you know. My favorite cover is probably either A Memory of Light or The Eye of the World or The Dragon Reborn, in that order. And my least favorite cover is the one for The Shadow Rising, because oh my god, I just feel like the human figures look really weird and they look really short, which is not a problem, but all the characters that are depicted in the cover are supposed to be tall, so that just bothers me. The Shadow Rising is like one of my favorite books in the whole series, but the cover for it is just not my favorite. So a location I would like to visit in the Wheel of Time is without a doubt one of the Ogiers studying. I think the idea of having this sanctuary where you can go and instantly feel peace is just so, just feels so nice. I feel like it would be like a spa treatment, but even better. I feel like it would be cool to create a ter'angreal that could translate stuff. So maybe like a glass thing that would, if you put it over a book that's in a different language that you don't understand, it would like translate it. So for this one, I'm going to recommend Robin Hobb's The Realm of the Elderling series. In terms of world building, I don't think that the first series, the Farseer trilogy, is quite as expansive as Wheel of Time, but in terms of characters, I think that Robin Hobb does a fantastic job of creating really interesting and well-rounded characters. I think she's super underrated in the fantasy scene, so I will always take any opportunity to plug Robin Hobb. And the last question / prompt is to tag other Wheel of Time creators / fans that you think would enjoy doing these questions. If you do end up doing this tag, please feel free to send me the video on Twitter or Instagram or leave a link in the comments. And so personally, I am tagging all the people who responded to my Discord post. Thank you so much for responding. So I'm just gonna read off all of their names. I'm gonna be tagging Jessie from Another Turning, Rebecca from Reading the Pattern, Leslie from Stuck on ARRAKIS, Josh from the Black Tower podcast, Vance from the GLEEMEN, Jenny from LEZBI Nerdy, which Jenny is one of my favorite YouTubers, so thank you so much for responding. I'm kind of having a little fangirl moment. Joe from Takaran Ryod, Steven from Fantology, Johara from the TWOT cast, Matt from The Dusty Wheel, Jade from Bedtime Bookworm, Ryan from The Way of the Leaf, Rob from Malkier Talks, John from What Up, and I also wanted to tag Philip Chase, who is a fantastic booktuber here. He has made a couple videos about Wheel of Time, but he also makes other bookish content relating to fantasy, and he's just been very kind to me. And so shout out to Philip Chase for carrying my channel, tagging everyone in the Wheel of Time fandom to do this tag. I hope you enjoy answering these questions, and I look forward to watching all of your guys' videos. Thank you so much for watching, and take care. I'll see you in the next video.